This is part 2 of my video on G.D.H. and M. Cole, so if you missed part 1, go to my profile and then come back here. As I said, the Coles' literary efforts got them invited to become founding members of the Detection Club in 1930. Douglas was not as sociable as his wife. He did have a reputation for sometimes being a bit rude, unintentionally or intentionally, and he was also very sensitive towards criticism. Margaret, on the other hand, was a very sociable person, and she loved to have spirited debates with people who disagreed with her. Together, the Coles wrote 28 detective novels as well as several story collections. Though they were not co-writers necessarily, basically one of the two would be in charge of writing the draft, and then once they were finished writing the story, they would give it to the other person for critique and edits. Thus, frequently when discussing the Coles' body of work, they will refer to 10 of the stories as Margaret's stories, and 18 of them as Douglas's stories. One thing about the Coles is they loved to go together on walking holidays, but on one of these holidays, Douglas noticed that he was now struggling to keep up with Margaret and not able to match her pace like before. Soon after, he was diagnosed with diabetes, and as his health started to decline, the quality of the Coles' work declined with it. Douglas had always been sensitive to criticism, but now that he was ill, he couldn't even handle good faith constructive criticism, and thus the quality of the Coles' work declined. This was something that was noticed even by their friends in the Detection Club, and as time went on, the Coles prioritized the quantity of stories over the quality of stories. And after the late 1940s, they no longer published detective stories. However, some say the detective fiction was never the couple's true passion anyway. Writing detective stories was really just a way for them to make an income and support their family. Their intellectual and political pursuits, while less lucrative, were what were really important to them. Douglas died after going into a diabetic coma in the early hours of January 14th, 1959. Though Margaret no longer wrote detective fiction, she did publish a biography about life with her husband, and it was surprisingly candid about Douglas's sexual preferences, or lack thereof. She seems to have partially blamed his lack of sexual interest due to his longtime ill health, stating, quote, "One feels he would scarcely have had energy for vigorous lovemaking." Okay, Margaret. Margaret survived her husband by 21 years and was named a dame. She passed away on May 7th, 1980, the day after her 87th birthday. So that was the very interesting life of the Coles, and make sure to follow along if you want to see the next episode of this series.